How is the weather out there?
Beautiful today. Low humidity, temperature in the low 80s. It was gorgeous.
Wonderful.
How are things in the Bay Area?
It's warm here. You saw probably you read Peter Dellapena writing about
Yeah.
curtailing match because it's brutal out there. I don't know why they were out there today after yesterday
Yeah.
they playing. So, anyways, let's just get started. One, two, three.
Okay.
Hey everyone, this is Ganesh Sanap and Cricket in USA. I have here with me Mr. Jamie Harrison. He has been instrumental in establishing youth cricket programs out on the East Coast. So without wasting too much of time, Mr. Harrison, stage is all yours. Please give us everything, all the information, everything that you've done over the years, and what how you can help U.S. cricket going forward.
Oh, let's see. Everything I've done over the years. So I'm not going to belabor that. It's been about 12 or 13 years I've been involved in cricket. Basically, from the time I got into cricket, I saw a great game that wasn't being made available to 95% of Americans. And it just occurred to me that this doesn't make any sense. If American children had a chance to play cricket, they're going to fall in love with this game. So my mission became to take the game to the masses, to American children everywhere. And in one way, it's been borne out. I mean, everywhere I've taken the game, kids have reacted very well to it. In Maryland here, we have 1,000 kids now playing organized cricket at various age levels. They play in school and they play in a state championship competition. And we have a very small state with a relatively small population, but we have an oversized impact on USA cricket. And it's because we've taken the game to kids in schools and we've made a point of recruiting kids to play cricket. And that's made all the difference for us. So that's been what we've been doing all along. And I always assumed that if I could prove the concept in Maryland, that people all over the country would see what we were doing and say, oh, we should do that too, because there's no reason Maryland should be on a par with Texas or California or Florida when it comes to cricket. On the face of it, that makes no sense. So how is it that Maryland has so many good young players? And how is it the captain of the East team for the U.S. women's national thing that they got going now is a 16-year-old girl from Maryland? It's because, we're doing it better than everybody else. And again, I assumed that people would imitate what we were doing. And after a little while, there'd be state youth cricket associations all over the country trying to compete with what we were doing. And to my surprise, there wasn't. And when I talked to a lot of people, what they told me is that the local academy operators and the local program operators were all so hot in competition with each other and all trying to undercut and stab each other in the back so much that they couldn't cooperate. And that was preventing any kind of the formation of state associations. So a few years ago, when USA Cricket started, I thought, okay, fresh start. I want to bring the country together. Here's the chance to get everybody on the same page, everyone working together. We can put aside our partisan differences and people will come together and we'll all be smart and do the right thing. And sadly, what I've discovered is that 99% of the people involved in cricket care about their club or their league or the kids that are closest to them getting ahead. And they don't really see the United States as a whole or even their state as a whole. They don't have that 30,000-foot view of cricket in America or cricket in their state. It's all very parochial. It's all very much cricket in a silo, and we're still not cooperating with each other. So for the last year and a half, I've been working behind the scenes with USA Cricket. Basically, my message has always been, take what we've done in Maryland for the last 10 years. We've gone through and we've done the trial and error. We have failed and we have succeeded. The stuff that failed, we threw out. The stuff that succeeded, we kept. And now we've got it down to a science. So take what we've done, copy and paste it all over the country. And within 5 or 10 years, what's happening in Maryland will be happening everywhere. And cricket will be an American sport. And people at USA Cricket all said great things to me. They said, you're absolutely right. We're definitely going to do that as soon as we do this other thing. And it was always this other thing. I think in English law school, they must teach the phrase other priorities right now. And what's the other phrase? Oh yeah, we'll get to that in due course. What I've discovered is that other priorities and in due course is English law school speak for I don't care about what you're doing right now. I'll deal with it another time. So nothing is happening. Last year, well, all of last year, I spent talking to Ian and Richard Doan and Jamie Lloyd, and they all said state associations are definitely the way to go. Absolutely make perfect sense. We should be doing this all over the country. And I said, great, can we get it done this pandemic year while nothing's going on? Absolutely sounds like a great plan. Of course, it didn't get done. Finally, by the fall, Ian had asked for a specific proposal to be put on paper so that it could be put in front of the board of directors. And the plan was the development committee is going to vote on it, and then the board of directors will vote on it. And by winter 2021, we will have the state associations in place. And of course, we did. Jamie Lloyd put that together, and I helped him. And it was laid in front of Ian Higgins, and Ian Higgins began ignoring it immediately. And it's been on the back burner collecting dust ever since, and nothing ever happens. And I've been told since then that it's not all his fault, that the board of directors is fairly dysfunctional. They can barely get a budget passed. It was like pulling teeth. They're at each other's throats. They don't work together very well. And I'm sure he's looking at that and saying, you know what, I had enough problems getting a budget passed. I certainly don't want to take up another fight with them over these state associations. So I'm just going to kick that can down the road. And again, I don't blame him because he's not an American. He doesn't live here. He's going to go away after a certain point and be the president of Western Australian Swimming or something like that, and leave us Americans to our own means. And Richard Doan will do the same thing. And it's just a gig for them. It's a temporary gig, and if something seems difficult or a pain in the butt, then you kick it down the road to the next guy. And we're stuck with, nothing ever happening. So I understand it. It's sad. It'd be a better solution if we had people running USA Cricket who are actually Americans. That would be handy because then there'd be some responsibility and some sense of permanence to what was going on. But we don't. We're stuck with people being imported here or working a temporary job in the States and working with a board of directors that isn't getting much done. And so in the meantime, we have the chaos that we've always had in USA Cricket going on indefinitely with no signs of a national domestic system on the horizon. And because of that, of course, I don't blame him entirely because I'm also told that there's a lot of pushback from the idea of any kind of structure being put in place by people who run academies and people who run private groups that benefit from the chaos. If you're selling cricket to your parents for $1,000 a year and you're telling them, I can coach your kid and I guarantee I'll get them on the national team, and that's why that parent's paying you $1,000, if there was a state team in between you and the national team, that would diminish your leverage with those parents. So being able to tell them I have a direct pipeline to the national team helps you to sell your academy, helps you to sell your program. So the dysfunction of American cricket, not having a national domestic system, is kind of like bred into the bone. And we need strong administrators to say, I know there's going to be pushback from the expensive academies. And I know there's going to be people with turf battles and vested interests that are going to fight against this. But we have to do the right thing, and we have to create a national domestic system that goes club, state, national, instead of the way it is right now, club, national. I mean, can you imagine anywhere else in the world, in Australia, somebody playing on a club team and then expecting to be picked for a test side in Australia? It's insane. It makes no sense. But that's the situation in America. Anyway, there's my deal.
Wonderful. I think you summarized everything in the last 5 minutes. I totally concur with you. At the end of the day, the way I'm looking at it is in our own hands is what we have to do to make things work here is what you've been doing for over 10, 12 years that I've been following you. Social media has been very beneficial to understand what you've been doing, and I'm hopeful that you've been following me on this side of the country. But yeah, it's in our own hands. It's basically until unless you decide what you want to do with your own future, nobody else is going to care about it, is what it is. I've seen the kind of work that you've done, put the structure in schools. Give us more on how you know, the journey of starting initiation all the way to what you have 1,000 kids right now, because that's very important for people who would want to think about doing that in their own part of the world, how you went about it.
Well, it was, well, no, okay. I was about to say that it was unique for me. It was, because no one else has done what I did. But if we start doing this all over the country, there will be a lot of Jamie Harrisons who will have to start doing this in a place like Arkansas, where there is no structure. And the way it started in Maryland was in 2010, I said Americans should be playing cricket. And I thought, well, how do I get that done? Well, schools are the only obvious answer. You got to get cricket in schools. Well, there are a lot of people who want to put on the suit and tie and go and spend hours testifying in front of the Board of Education and try and get cricket as part of the curriculum. And I have always found that to be a colossal waste of time and energy. It's a way to avoid hard work. The hard work is you don't put on a suit, you put on a cricket outfit, and you grab a cricket bag and you volunteer in your local school and you teach kids to play cricket in school. And that's what I started doing. Now, I had some very good friends at the beginning. They knew Palabarthi, Dream Cricket. We talked about this in 2010, my idea. And he said, I'll step up and give you 10 free cricket sets to take to schools. And I did, and it went really well. And then he said, I'll make it 100. And he gave me, my first 100 sets came free of charge from Dream Cricket. And that was the launch of Maryland Youth Cricket. And by the time we were done, I started, of course, United States Youth Cricket after that to spread the message all over the country. Right. By the time I left USYCA, we had donated over 2,100 cricket sets and training to schools all over the country. Now, the problem is, what I didn't realize when I was doing it is that going into the school, donating the cricket set and the training is only the first step. What I've done in Maryland is I repeat it with the same schools every year. I teach the same schools, the classes, year in and year out, because there's always a different group of kids every year. Kids come in, kids leave. You have to keep at it. It's dogged work. It is not glamorous. It is not sexy. I'm not going to find the next Shane Warne in a PE class. You know, I'm teaching kids how to hold a bat and how to hit with a flat bat. And it's very, very unglamorous work. But if you want the results, you have to be willing to put it in. And here I have to give a shout out to Sham Chutu. Sham Chutu in Maryland has been better than me. I was lucky beyond my wildest dreams when I found Sham at the Bowie Boys and Girls Club. And he has done incredible work. And without Sham, we wouldn't be half as successful as we are. But he and I have spent the last 10 years going into schools, dozens of schools every year. I take my vacation days in schools, spending entire days teaching PE classes. So it is hard, unsexy, unglamorous work. That's how you make cricket happen in schools. And it started with just me, then it was just me and Sham. But the good news is that when you have something good happening, you attract good people to you. And we began, like a magnet, began to attract all these good people in Maryland. And today, Maryland Youth Cricket has dozens of really good people doing really great work. Now, Sham and I are still the two ones who go into the schools. You know, that's our thing, and we're able to touch thousands of students a year doing that. But the apparatus in Maryland is so large and so complicated and so diverse now that we need dozens of really good people to run it. And we have a massive organization now in Maryland. People always say to me, you must have a lot of money. It must be money. Where do you get all your money to do this? It's not money. It is not money. Money is not the problem. It's people. You need volunteers. You need people willing to take their time to do this stuff. The money, the little bit of money you need will come when you do good things. But initially and throughout the whole thing, and even now today when we're a big operation, it's people, 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 people. You need people. And the thing that's lacking in the United States in most places are people who have the vision to take cricket to the 95% who aren't getting the game. And it's very disappointing to hear Ace say we're going to target, you know, existing cricket fans in the United States, because what that communicates to me is we are going to ignore the 95% people in the United States who are not existing cricket fans. And that's awfully disappointing when I hear that. And sometimes when I see all these stories of people coming from overseas to fill up, the major league and minor league cricket teams, it begins to feel like maybe we didn't build an American pro league. What we built was a foreign league full of foreign players playing in American cities. I had really hoped when this started out that it'd be a pipeline for young Americans to learn how to be professional cricketers. And it wouldn't be great cricket. I knew that. It would be like, just like the MLS is not great soccer. It's not on a par with the European leagues, but it's a place where Americans have a chance to play professionally and get their ears wet. And I thought minor league and major league cricket would be the same thing, where young Americans playing all over the country would get a chance to represent teams and make some money and play professionally. Instead, what it's turning into is a pipeline for washed up overseas players who can't make it in their home countries to come over here for a last paycheck or two. And that's disappointing. So yeah, right now I'm in mode disappointed.
Yeah, no, we all have our own, disappointments, ideas, but then, there are very few leaders, cricket leaders in this country who actually care about the country's cricket, right?
And everyone has some purpose.
Yeah, you're one of them. So I look at it this way: is like, here's another roadblock for you. You have to just go jump over it and continue doing what you're doing, is what I would want to think. I, as a league administrator, definitely I have felt that the old world order has been changed and a new world order is being replaced, and we don't know where it is. It hasn't even started yet. So I'm just going to wish good luck. That's the best I can do.
I got a confession to make about that. Is that I was one of the main people behind the scenes who was, pushing buttons and pulling strings to get USACA replaced.
Right.
I worked my tail off to get USACA replaced. And when USA Cricket started, I was behind the scenes doing a lot of stuff for USA Cricket and helping them get established, and because I believe this is the chance, this is our moment. I thought the reason I was so intent on getting USACA replaced was because I had come to the conclusion by 2013 that with USACA as the national governing body, we could not advance as a cricketing nation. We could not grow.
They were just incompetent. They just were incompetent and about themselves. There's no question.
That's the funny thing. The funny thing is that people will tolerate dictatorship and lack of transparency if there's competence. If you have a competent dictator who's delivering, to everybody, people will tolerate losing all of their freedom and being pushed around. But when you have a combination of dictatorship and incompetence, that's when people lose their patience. So right. I worked behind the scenes and did everything I could, and when USACA left and USA Cricket got started, I thought, this is it. This is the answer to our prayers. We can start over now. It's going to be a really great organization. The ICC is putting its backing behind it, so we're going to get some really good people. Everything's going to be better, and now we can finally get state associations, and we'll have a real national domestic system. And I had all these fantasies about what was going to happen. And for years, I've been made promises under the table and behind the scenes about all the great stuff that's coming. And it always seems to be another priority has jumped in front of whatever it is we were telling you. And don't worry, in due course, we will get to all the important stuff. We agree that what you're saying is really important and has to be taken care of as soon as we do this next thing. There's always a next thing. And to me, a national domestic system, a functional national has to be the next thing. If you don't have a functional national domestic system, everything you do is temporary and will be washed away by the waves. And we have stalled and delayed and kicked this can down the road. And now we're trying to do things in coming out of this chaos. And because of that, we're picking teams, hand-picked teams by select coaches who pick players who are, known to them. And I mean, our local situation here, we had a team where 2 women who lived outside the area were brought in and put on the team, women in their mid-30s, replacing young women who should have been on the team because the coach coached them personally. So because of the connection to the coach, 2 young women who should have been on the team were kicked off, and these mid-30s women were put on instead. And they don't even live here. They're not even from this region, but they had the right connections. if we had a functional national domestic system, there would be objective measurements and standards and people in place, and that would not happen, or would happen far less, because you would have numbers and you would have a system that would be analyzing performances. But as it is right now, the chaos is benefiting certain people, and those certain people are not excited about a national domestic system coming in and straightening everything out because they benefit, financially from the chaos. So it's all very disturbing and very disappointing. And a lot of people have said to me, you should run for, one of these seats on the board of directors. And I have no interest whatsoever because I have sat on dysfunctional committees many times in my life. And I have no interest in spending my time sitting, in the middle of a backbiting, fighting group of people who are getting nothing done, because I would drive them nuts and they would drive me nuts. I've got a local cricket league for kids that I run, where we play recreational cricket. I'm the CEO of a 501c3 foundation, and I'm a grandfather to two very young girls now. So I've got important stuff in my life. I don't need to waste my time.
Absolutely. I mean, I concur with you. Our lives are much more fulfilling doing local stuff. And that somebody asked me this question, what is your chance of winning this, whatever? I said, do I really care? If it happens, it happens. We don't even know when the elections are going to happen. But yeah, there are too many things to do locally that you could, if you do get an opportunity to serve at the national level, of course, that's well and good, because that gives you an opportunity to put out your ideas and then try to get things done. But as I said, we have too many good things to be done at the local level, and we continue doing that. What message would you like to give to all the youth academies, number one, and the national body, number two?
If you're interested only in having a small number of players that you can control and manage, and push a handful of those small number of players forward toward the national team, and you have no dreams beyond that, for the life of your program, then keep doing what you're doing, because that's where you're at. If you dream of America being a cricket playing nation, if you dream of America producing its own players one day, if you dream of everybody on the American national team being born in this country, if that's a vision you share, cricket as an American sport, not as an imported sport where we're depending on the people arriving at JFK, to make the team, then we have to change the way we're doing things. So they say a definition of insanity is to repeat the same actions over and over and expect different results. We have forever been reliant on people from other countries, people who learn their cricket elsewhere, because we have never created a national domestic system that will change that. To the youth academies and programs in this country, I would say, if you want to see the change in your lifetime, you have to start working together now. You have to call each other in your state and say, we have to create a state youth cricket association. The State Youth Cricket Association has three priorities. The first of which is participation, driving up participation in your state. The second one is fostering state competition, so those players can play against each other within the state. And the third is to create a representative state team that can then compete against other state teams in national competitions. But without a state association, none of that happens. Participation is stagnant. There's no state competitions, and there's no state versus state competitions. If we had state versus state competitions, all of this drama would be gone with selection, because you would have a whole year of data on the best players in every state playing on the same field against each other. And you would have the selectors could go to tournaments where it was state versus state. They would see all the best players in the United States all in one place, all at the same time. And they would have hard numbers where they were all playing on the same pitches to look at. As it is right now, it's bizarre. It's chaotic. A kid scoring 100 in one league might not be as good as a kid who's averaging 35 in another, because the level of competition or the pitches are completely different. And so you make guesses, and you run one-day combines. And then if the best players on the one-day combine don't perform well, you put them on the team anyway, because they're good. And then the players who didn't make it say, why did I show up for the combine if you're just going to pick these other guys anyways? Again, it's chaos, but there are certain people who are profiting from the chaos. So to those who are not profiting from the chaos, you need to organize within your state. And here's the key part about state associations and why it's going to be controversial. The state association pathway has to be exclusive. And here's what I mean by that. There can be no way around a state team to the national team. They have to say, you can't be selected for the U.S. national side unless you've represented your state. Because if you do that, then the chaos continues. People will always be going around the state to try and get around and get on the national side. On the other hand, if you say you have to represent your state in order to represent your country, then everyone will have to go through the same pipeline. It'll be fair, it'll be a level playing field, there won't be any favoritism, and it'll be measurable results, and all the best players will be competing at the same level against each other. So we have to have an exclusive system where you play for your club, and then you have to represent your state if you want to go on and represent your country. And again, I'm not making this up. I didn't come up with the system. In India, Australia, England, it's not states, they're counties. But everywhere it's the same. There's nobody playing on the Indian national team who did not play on a state team somewhere first. Nobody went from a club to the Indian national side. But in the United States, it's just the Wild West, and people get on the national side any way they can. So we need structure. We're begging for structure. Everyone I talk to says, we have no structure in the United States. But the problem is somebody, an administrator, has to make the hard decision to force structure upon us and let the people scream who are going to scream because they're losing their cash cow, because this is the right thing to do. And if we don't do it now, we will 10 years from now be having the same conversation with a lot more gray hair.
Well, I see an attempt being made, it's a private attempt, but it is to show that that is going to be the domestic structure is what I have a feeling, but yeah.
So here's the thing, that's I was willing to shut up and say nothing until I got an email from USA Cricket that said people all over the world are congratulating us on our new national domestic structure. And I was like, what? What national domestic structure? You handpicked 12 teams by private coaches, who used arbitrary standards to select players. Some you got right, some you didn't. And then you had those teams play against each other in a few matches. There's no system in place for those teams to ever play again. You hope they will play next year, but you can't guarantee it because there's no system in place. There is no national domestic system. To claim that this chaos that we have right now is our national domestic system, it's like saying, it's like that meme of the dog sitting in the room on fire and saying, this is fine. Okay. That's where we're at right now at cricket in the United States. We're sitting in a room that's on fire, and the national governing body is saying, "This is fine. We like the room on fire. This is good. We like this." Okay, it's not good, and it's not a national domestic system. It's chaos, and unless we have a state association to manage, all of these things within states and a pipeline that goes club, state, national, it will be continuing to be chaos, forever. And you can call it a national domestic system. I could put together a tournament here in Maryland and then say the world congratulates me on my global festival of cricket. That doesn't make it a global festival. You can call it whatever you want. But I hope that our administrators will do the right thing. But I've been hoping that for a very long time. But the previous national governing body before this one, so I guess I'm getting a little cynical about it by now. I'm getting old, so I don't have much hope anymore, but we'll see. And if not, they'll kick the can down the road, and the next for hire CEO will come in, and I'll be fighting with him about it.
Well, all I can say is we just hope for the best, and we're doing our thing. We're coming close to the 30 minutes to the hour. I would thank you. I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to me. We will continue following each other, and lovely cricket is all I'm going to say. Thank you very much, sir. Good talking to you.
Great speaking with you, Ganesh.
Thank you very much. Take care now.
You too.